Here's the other record. Now, this one, you're probably not going to find it impressive at first. There's a whole story that goes through it. There's a guy in Canada. His name is Robert Fedrock, and he was walking a trail through property he owns 2 weeks ago and stumbled upon a large vine of poison ivy. And he knew it was poison ivy when he got close to it. But he said he was surprised because it was growing up a tree, and he had never seen that before. Usually it's only on the ground. You've seen it on a tree?
Oh, yeah.
He said he saw it growing up a tree and thought, interesting. So later he told his neighbor, there's some poison ivy out there growing up a tree.
Hey, Fedrock.
Fedrock.
How was your day, eh?
Fedrock.
Pretty good. Saw some, what it looked to be poison ivy crawling up a tree there.
Right. So the neighbor said, let me take a look at it. So he goes out there. And he says,
Let me see that, Fedrock. Which tree?
I'll tell you what you got there, Fedrock. You got some high. That's a high poison ivy. He goes, I don't think I've ever seen poison ivy go up that high. So Fedrock said, are you serious? You don't think so? So Fedrock did a little investigating and found that poison ivy usually doesn't grow that high. And he thought, I might have a record here.
Oh, he might have it, huh?
Might have a record here.
Oh, it's going to hurt to measure.
Now, to get an accurate measurement, he had to clear a dense patch of buckthorn around the poison ivy. And he got poison ivy rash on his stomach, hands, arms, face, and genitals. But when Guinness came out and measured, they said, you've got yourself a record. So the very itchy Robert Fedrock said, worth it. Fedrock's got a record here.
Now, if you know it's poison ivy, why would you not cover yourself? Genitals?
How did he? Stomach,
bruh,
arms, all of it. You'd think you'd wear gloves and
they wear a hazmat suit.
Or if you know you're allergic to it, hire somebody that isn't.
Isn't everyone allergic to it? Almost everyone.
I mean, everyone has a reaction.
Everybody has a reaction, but it's worse with some.
With some,
I think some people don't. I think there are people out there that don't have a reaction to it.
I always claimed I couldn't get it because I had walked through it before and not gotten it as a kid.
Me too. I never had it.
But then, as an adult, I was pulling weeds in the yard.
Yeah.
And a few days later, I was scratching so bad in here.
On your sack?
No.
You pointed to your sack.
Sorry.
What are you doing down there?
Was it the jeans?
It was the jeans.
He's a sack pointer.
I apologize. I'm getting used to these jeans.
You're wearing in the dungarees?
Yeah, I've got some new ones. I got some new dungarees.
Is this a new pair or are these still the high waters?
Same high waters, but I'll tell you what I've done now.
Well, it's Old Navy.
Now,
gonna be in the high water.
There's a whole
fleet of them.
There's a whole backstory to this now. But first, I did get poison ivy.
Okay.
And it was in my inner thigh. And I realized what I'd been doing was I was picking the weeds, and it got on like my knee and inner thigh. And so I went to the doctor. It was so bad. And he said, what you've got here is poison ivy. I said, I don't get poison ivy. He says, yes, you do. You've got it. And he gave me whatever lotion. It took me a while to get rid of it. It was horrible.
You're going back to Fedrock. I would have thought that Guinness would have had to measure it independently.
Me too.
Well, they did. They did come out and measure it. First, Fedrock measured it, and he had to cut through to get to it, and in the cutting through, he got it all over him, apparently. And so Fedrock measured it, and Guinness has officiated it at 68 feet, which is the highest.
I guess that's impressive.
He said it's 2 school buses long.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
My wife likes to garden, and she is convinced that everything in our yard that isn't grass or a shrub that she has planted is poison ivy. Everything.
She points it out. That's poison ivy.
And I don't know the answer. I mean, I went to day camp and learned leaves of 3.
Yeah, that's a problem.
You know,
Leave them be.
Leave it be.
But I don't know what
I don't know what
either.
that is.
I never really know.
Well, they're usually a little shiny.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
And yeah, they're in threes. I mean, that's all you.
Well,
But aren't there? There's got to be other
there are
flower or green things that are in threes.
I've seen them not grow by themselves. That's why I'm not shocked by this going up the tree. I've seen it in English ivy and amongst other
Fedrock
weeds.
was blown away by it, and he said, "I never seen anything like this in my life." Halfway up a tree, 69 feet.
I'll ask for you. I'll ask
feet.
the 2 country boys in the room here on behalf of us city folk. Could you tell the difference between poison ivy and poison oak?
I cannot.
I don't think so.
I don't know it. I don't know what poison ivy really looks like.
Unless
I've
it has
had it
oak
pointed
trees.
out. I've seen it. I've seen it online even. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's just green.
Yeah.
Sumac got 5 leaves.
Anonymous, you're talking about poison ivy. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I work around poison ivy a whole lot, and my coworkers as well. And the reason you get it on your genitals and your eyeballs is because you scratch or you pee. Yeah, you don't wash your hands. You go pee. And then you scratch your eyeballs. You spread it everywhere you touch. Everywhere you touch. You touch your mate, they get it. Everything.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Are you not in this day and age? Why are landscapers not wearing gloves?
Well, they do, but it can soak through your clothing. Actually, there's the ink that's inside this stuff, and it soaks under your skin, into your clothing. Everything, and if you're not super careful, you will just super spread it.
That's it. All right, there you go. Okay, that's
Do you
what
ever have a bad case of it? What's his name?
Yeah.
Anonymous. Have you had a bad case?
I used to. I've worked in it for a long time. I'm kind of immune to it now, but my coworkers get it pretty badly.
Man, terrible,
crazy.
Well, that's what happened to Fedrock.
Yeah.
He's probably wearing a shirt, obviously.
They say even if you pull it down, it's hard to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you burn it, some of the smoke and that resin or whatever's on it will get on you from burning
Even
it.
that? Even that?
Crazy, man.
Wow. That's mountain folk there. Now,
What do you think, in the grand scheme of things, poison ivy's purpose is in nature?
What does it do?
Does some things eat it? Does it protect some things?
I don't know. I think it's invasive and wants to live.
It's terrible.
But it had to exist because somebody ate it, right? At some point.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Does something?
And that's why mosquitoes and fleas are.
Is that why they're there? Kevin, you're talking about poison ivy. Go ahead.
Hey guys, P1.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I've never gotten poison oak, and I'm country strong. I've lived in the woods and played out in the woods and stuff my whole life. I'm 33 years old, and I've never gotten it. But my dad and my sister, they're both like really allergic to it, so they get outbreak really bad. But
that's something. You're just immune. It's like Dave. He hadn't gotten it. He's country strong too.
I never had it. My daddy never had it. His daddy never had it.
That's right. Break it on him. He doesn't care. You can take it and break it now. It's a terrible thing, man. When I got it that one time, I thought, I'll never want this again.
A lot of it's luck, probably.
You think that you never have gotten it?
I think so.
Thank you, Kevin. I wonder then would you be willing to walk through it? You shouldn't.
No.
No, you should not do that. Heather, you're talking about poison ivy. You don't get it either. Go ahead.
I don't. My husband was weed whacking and ended up getting tangled with some poison oak, and he had it all over his body.
Mm-hmm.
And I slept right next to him. I never got a bump, not a nothing.
Nothing.
He was on steroids for months.
It's terrible. It took me a lot longer to get rid of it than I thought it would,
Yeah.
Even after it would go away, little tingles would come back. Even after the rash was gone. It's a terrible thing to have.
Oil.
Yeah.
The oil is awful.
The oil. Do you think if you walked through it, you wouldn't get it?
I know I have.
Yeah.
And I haven't.
That's something
So.
Crazy, man.
Maybe some people just don't have whatever.
People get like, do they get blisters from it sometimes?
Mine was like, a blistery rash. It was ugly.
Like a pustule?
Yeah, it was nasty. It was red and pustulous. I wasn't wearing these jeans at the time, obviously.
To protect you?
To protect myself. That's right.
Well, your ankles are vulnerable now.
I know, right now the ankles.
Gotta be real careful.
Those little footy socks aren't going to get the job done.
It's the only thing. It's the only thing that leaves me vulnerable, just above the cankle, just that area. Randy, you're talking about poison ivy too. Go ahead.
Yeah, in general, some people are more sensitive than others, but in general, you're very insensitive as a child, and then once you get into your 20s on to about your 40s, it peaks. And then it starts getting less sensitive as you get older. So,
interesting.
When you're in your 80s, you're much less sensitive.
Very interesting.
I never heard that.
Oh, I didn't know that either. That's when I got it. Was in my 30s is when I got it, and it's like, man. And I didn't get it as a kid. And I know I've been in it because I played in the woods all the time.
Absolutely.
We were country strong as we could be.
And he still pulls weeds, but it's a winky
little
thing.
something different. Little something.
Do that in your living room.
We go out and swim in the creek. I know you swam in the creek, Dave.
Well, sometimes when the water would come up.
Yeah.
We had drought.
That's your drinking water.
That's right. We drank
Swimming
it.
it. What are you swimming in the
Bathing,
creek?
drinking.
We didn't swim in it. Had to drink it later. We think we made soup from.
Jethro, tell us about poison ivy.
Yeah, so about 6 years ago, my sister was dating this boy, and he was always super allergic, so he was always kind of weary of it. And he went to a bonfire one night and
some people had thrown some logs on there that had poison ivy, and he didn't know it. And he ended up getting it in his lungs and his eyes and his ears and covering about 95% of his body.
God.
That sounds nightmare.
Awful. That is a
Nightmare.
How long did it take him to get over it?
It was about it was going on a year.
I bet. I mean, 95% of your body and in your lungs, and you're susceptible to it badly. That is awful.
I wonder if it's natural to North America, if it came from somewhere else centuries ago.
Did your sister stick with him through and through?
Yeah, she did, but not much longer after that.
After he got clean, that was it. Wow. Thank you, Jethro. Appreciate the phone call. Dan is on talking about poison ivy as well. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, a buddy of mine burned it in a fire because he thought it was a stick. It can get pretty big around, and it got in his lungs. Yep. It got in his hair. He spent 2 or 3 months. He had to go to the hospital, and he spent 2 or 3 months trying to get rid of it, and it almost killed him.
That is terrible. Now, I didn't know that. I didn't know about the burning. I had no idea.
It's just as dangerous. You might as well walk through it. And it gets inside you.
You'd think once you burned it that you win.
The burning is dangerous.
It fights back. It's terrible.
But it's the only way to get rid of it. It's the same thing. I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, so what are you supposed to do? Right.
Light it and run.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I guess so. Well, but like I said, Fedrock says it's worth this rash to have my name in the Guinness Book of World Records. He owns the longest vine.
He didn't do nothing to it.
No,
he didn't do it.
He chopped to get to it. That's about all he could do. That's all there was to it.
2 school bus worth.
That's it.